Hi, Marty Lecklatter, Product Manager, Forms Experience Builder. In this video, I'm going to show you some examples of how easy it is to use JavaScript in Feb. The example I'm going to use is a purchase order form. Let's take a look at it. I've got a few fields here to capture the requester, date, supplier. The supplier is actually a service call to a catalog which then pulls in different products. And the idea here is that I want to be able to put in the quantity, have it calculate the subtotal, and then of course a total for the entire order. I also want the requester name pulled in from who the user is logged in as, and then I want the date to automatically calculate. So let's take a look at how we can do this with JavaScript. I'm going to go over to the form in edit mode, and we'll start with the requester. So when this field is shown, I'm going to go to the properties box and we'll click on show. What I want to do is put in some JavaScript here. Now, one of the tricks is to become very familiar with the documentation. So this is the Forms Experience Builder 8.5 documentation, and there's a section here on the reference which is all about the JavaScript API. And if you look at the different functions in Forms Experience Builder, the different JavaScript functions, they're really categorized into two different groups. There's interface objects, and then there's data objects. So in this particular case, the interface objects are what I want to use for the current user. So you can see that there's a function right here that I can use. I can simply just copy this to the clipboard, and we'll come over to right here. And that's the function. So what I can do is, let's say item set value. In this particular case, what I'm saying is I want to set this item, which is the requester, to a value, and the value I want to set it to is this app.getCurrentUser. So we'll just copy that, paste that in there, close that, and of course every JavaScript command ends with a semicolon. So we're done there. We'll say OK, and if I preview this PO form, I should see that my ID is now populated into the field. Now in this particular case I'm admin, but most scenarios you're going to have a user that's logged in with their email address. Let's go on to date. So let's take a look at the date. So when this is shown, what I want to do is determine what today's date is and then populate it into the field. So this is where you can go to Google and you can look at things like W3 Schools, and there's a bunch of other websites out there. And this is just standard JavaScript. So what I have here is a line of JavaScript, and I'll copy that and I'll bring that into my form and paste that in. And what that is saying is variable D equals today's date. That is the standard JavaScript for today's date. And then in similar fashion, what I can do is say set item set value, and then I can say instead of new date, I could actually take this here and just simply set it to that, and that would work. But in this particular case, what I can do is just set it to the variable. They both work. So we preview this. We see that, okay, we've got the ID and we've got the date now populating in. But what I want to be able to do now is some calculations. So this means that I'm going to have to work with some of the data objects in Forms Experience Builder. So let's go into the table. And if I look at the table, what I want to do is input the quantity. The price is coming from the service call, and then this gets calculated. So this is where you need to think about the order of events. So if I enter a quantity, that value is going to change. So what I want to do is tie the calculation to the change on this field. So let's start here, and we'll just write this from scratch. I'm going to say BO, which is the preface for business object, a Forms Experience Builder business object. And then if you notice down in the right hand corner it says press shift space to insert a form item. Well, this becomes very handy when I'm doing this. So I can go into the table and I could say that what I want to do is set the subtotal. So I'm going to say set value, and then I'm going to set it to the business object, and again shift space, quantity, and we'll say get value, times, which is an asterisk, and then I'm going to say business value, and we'll go again, we'll hit shift space, and I'm going to say price, and then we'll say get value again, and close paren, and that's it. So essentially I'm just saying that the subtotal equals the quantity times the price. So that is how I would do this in JavaScript, and we can go ahead and we can take a look at this PO form again. So we can pick the supplier, and we can go ahead in here, and when we put in the quantity, let's say we want 3 of these, we've got a subtotal that's calculating. All right, and this is going to calculate for every row here, which is one of the reasons why I put it in a table. But what I want to do is this last piece here, which is just total up the number of items in the order before submitting it. So in this particular case, I'm not going to use JavaScript, because what I can do is use a formula. So I'm going to the properties of this total field on the form, and I'm just going to use this table sum. So this is just a very simple, easy way to actually go ahead and sum up some values. So I'm essentially done at this point. So if I preview the form once more, you see I've got all the automation in here. So I've got the ID, the date, the service calls, picking up the price and the products. I can put in the quantity, and I can see that the subtotal is working. So there you have it, using some JavaScript for some interface objects as well as some business objects in Forms Experience Builder. You don't have to know JavaScript to be able to do this. Go to the documentation, take a look at the different functions that are out there. Go to Google, take a look at W3 Schools, and just start having fun. Thank you.